it to the back.
Or was to open up with passes.
And all of a sudden, have to throw the football.
And he will.
And I think the thing, Dave, is they just got to be more physical.
Oh, it's picked off. Oh, that's...
What's good, y'all? Welcome to 7 Series Football, where we optimize for realism, efficacy, and immersion in college football 26. At this point, we finished the secondary, so kudos to us. But I wanted to make this video before we got into the front six or our box players to take some time to firstly introduce how we'll go about doing that, the actual position rooms, if you will. We'll talk about that and talk about the roles that exist within each room. Also, I want to take some time to talk about the fronts or the alignments or the personnel deployments that we'll be living in, so that when we get to the actual positional videos, we have most of the basics covered and it's a lot easier to understand the roles that everybody will be playing. So that's what we got coming up. Couple rules. If you learn anything, you gotta drop your boy a like. And if this changes the way that you see the game or the way that you plan on playing the game, you gotta subscribe. I think that's fair, and if you don't, well, I guess you don't. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, y'all know that we're not just gonna go down the depth chart and do Sam, Mike, Will, left edge, and so on. And so the actual position groups that we're going to cover are gonna be interior linebacker, which is made up of the roles, Mike and Will, not the positions. And then in that video, we'll also discuss sub linebackers. Then we have interior D-line, which is going to be made up of true zero technique nose tackles, but then also more versatile, more general purpose defensive tackles. Then lastly, we have our edges, which can be more run focused or more pass rush focused. And lastly, we have our jack or our bandit, which is kind of like a hybrid edge player and linebacker. I'm not sure if we're gonna include them with the edges or give them their own videos, but these are the remaining position rooms or groups that we're gonna cover. All right, so now for our front six and how we're going to align them. We're gonna start with 4-2-5. And if you remember back to the star power video, this is a natural progression from the 4-3, but because of the influence and the power of the spread, we've removed that Sam backer for an additional DB. But the beauty and the power of the 4-2-5 lie within its versatility and its flexibility. Firstly, there are just a ton of 4-2-5 formations in the game. You got 3-3-5 over flex, big nickel over G, which is what we're in, as well as a couple different nickel versions. And they're mostly gonna come in this over G front, where we have this nose in between the center and the guard. We have a 3 technique outside shade on the guard, and then 2 edge players, and obviously 2 interior backers. But if we wanna shift people around and put our D-line in different gaps, we have the power to do that quite easily. And that's really just going to be the first layer of flexibility. Big nickel over G is by default a big nickel or 3 safety defense, but if we wanted to, we could change the safety to a slot cornerback. Then we have our interior linebackers, which in this case are actually linebackers, but we could put sub backers here and allow some of our safeties to play in the box. And then our edges, based on the situation, if we want more run-focused edges, we can put them there. We can also put pass rushers there, even outside linebackers should we choose to. Then if we want to go up to nickel, we have nickel over. We're going to have the same 4-2-5 alignment, though we swapped out our defensive tackles to get a little bit more pass rush. We have got a safety playing sub linebacker now, and our edges are split a little bit wider so that they can get a better pass rush. And if that's still not enough for you, we can go up to nickel 2-4 and replace our edges with their hand in the dirt with two stand-up edges who should be even better at rushing the passer, especially if they're speed rushers. So we have a lot of personnel and alignment options out of the 4-2-5, which obviously is awesome. But the best part of the 4-2-5, the aspect that offers the most flexibility, is the coverages. In nickel over, we have access to basically all of the match coverages in the game. We have quarters, palms, cover 6, cover 9, cover 6 Willie. We've got a weak rotation cover 3 match. We've got a strong rotation cover 3 match. And they even give us another weak rotation cover 3 match where we buzz the strong safety. So all of the match coverages. Well, I should say all of the zone match coverages, because nickel over also has all of the man match versions of these coverage schemes. You've got double bracket switch Willie, all of the double wide receiver 1, 2, slot, tight end, all of those. And let me be clear, I call these man match coverages, but they're technically not, because they're not passing routes off between each other. However, these zone match coverage calls are designed to maintain leverage on receivers or to create double teams. And if you look at the design of these double plays, they all have the leverages and the double teams built into them. Again, they're just not passing them off. So I'm gonna refer to them as man match. They're not true man match, but I think y'all see where I'm coming from. And then this is not only in nickel over, all of these coverages are also in nickel 2-4, save for the cover 3 buzz match week. That one's not in 2-4, but other than that, you can get all the coverages you need in 4-2-5. Hey man, hate to disturb you, but if you made it this far, drop a like. If you really like it, go ahead and subscribe. You get to see more of me. But that's it. All right, back to the video. And that brings us to the second front that we're gonna live in, and that's gonna be the tight or the mint front, of which we have 2 formations, one 3-3-5 and one nickel. We're gonna start with 3-3-5 tight though. These mint front defenses specialize in stopping shotgun or spread run schemes, because we have a true nose tackle lined up over the center, along with 2 more defensive tackles who are lined up slightly inside the offensive tackles. And what that does is shut off the B gap where most shotgun runs are trying to hit. And the A gap is obviously plugged by this big nose tackle. And that frees up your interior linebackers to be really aggressive in pursuit of the ball carrier. I almost forgot to mention this jack that we have here lined up outside the tight end. You can see he's in a contain by default, and that's really going to be his job, to make sure nothing is able to get around him on his edge. He's lined up to the back side of the play, but this ruins any cutbacks and leads it directly into one of our linebackers. So the mint front is good at stopping spread run schemes, but we're also taken care of in terms of coverages too. We have all of the quarters family, quarters, palms, cover 6, 9, cover 6 Willie. And then we also have both a weak rotation and a strong rotation cover 3 match, as well as a couple of the man match plays, but not all of them. So generally speaking, we're good as far as coverages go. But we do face some personnel constraints. In the 3-3-5 formations, we cannot play with sub linebackers, meaning that if you had safeties who are super talented at playing the run, and thus you wanted to play them so that you could still lock up tight ends and running backs, you can't do that. You're stuck with linebackers here who, likely aren't as good in pass coverage. So definitely a trade-off that we have to make. Not the end of the world, but definitely a trade-off. And so the next logical thought is, why not try the nickel version of this? So let's check out nickel 3-3 odd. And at first, everything looks good. We got our mint alignment across the defensive line. We've got a safety in the box. We've replaced that jack with a bit more athletic of a pass rusher type. But the main drawback in this formation is that in quarters, palms, and cover 9, we are forced to send our interior backers on these creeper blitzes, one or the other, which immediately ruins the point of being able to use sub linebackers in this spot in the first place. Because we were putting a safety there to help out in coverage, but now he has to rush the passer. Not only that, one of our pass rushers has to play coverage to replace him. And so we have 2 people that are not really being optimized in 3 of our core coverage calls. And on top of that, because that safety is in at linebacker, we can't even hot route him to a quarter flat or a seam flat and then blitz the jack. We literally cannot play quarters or palms without this creeper blitz or without losing, the coverage aspect of our sub linebacker. So that's clearly unfortunate, but other than that, as far as the coverages go, we're pretty good. We have all of the quarters family. We have both a weak and strong rotation cover 3 match. And then we have a few of the man match plays, not all of them. And so once again, as far as the coverages go in the men front, we're pretty good. But in 3-3-5 tight, we're limited in terms of personnel. And then in 3-3 odd, we're limited in terms of how we're allowed to deploy that personnel from a coverage perspective. So not foolproof, definitely a great option for stop and spread run, but just understand you're going to be giving something up in the passing game. Which brings us to the final front that we're going to be living in, and that's going to be the 5-1, also known as the penny front. And here we're going to maintain the same interior D-line alignment as we did in the mint fronts. We've got our nose and those 2 4 eyes. Really, they're a little bit further inside now, but it's fine. And then we're replacing one of our interior linebackers for an additional player on the line of scrimmage. And so we still should fare really well in the run game. Again, we still have our mint alignment, but we also have a defender on the line for every offensive lineman, meaning they shouldn't be getting any double teams. And so as long as our middle linebacker and our safety are secure tacklers, we should be able to put a clamp down on the run game once again. However, if your linebacker and safeties aren't secure tacklers, you are a bit more susceptible to explosive runs, because once the running back gets to the second level, if they're not making tackles, he's essentially running free. Additionally, it should be pretty easy to generate pressure, being that we can get 5 one-on-ones almost whenever we want it. But even if we don't, because of our alignment, it's still very easy to overload one side of the offensive line with blitzing bodies. I forgot to mention that the edge players are indeed edges by default, but you can swap them out for outside linebackers, so that's a plus. But we can't get rid of this middle linebacker at all. He has to be a linebacker. Once again, if you're in a 3-3-5 formation, you cannot use a sub linebacker. And so despite us having basically all the coverages we want, we got the whole quarters family. We only have a weak rotation cover 3, but we have a decent amount of man match plays too. Despite that, we're still limited in terms of the personnel that we can deploy. So once again, the next logical step is to try the nickel version of this formation, which brings us to 3-3 cub. And at first glance, everything looks good. Now we can use a sub backer if we wanted. We got basically the same alignment, although our defensive tackles are in a little bit closer. Looks like we got the nickel version of this formation. We should be good to go, right? Except for the fact that that's wrong. Because in 3-3 cub, the only member of the quarters family that we get is stock quarters. That's literally it. Everything else is 5-man zone match pressures, which have their place, but once again, we're limited in terms of coverages. And so across the penny front, across the 5-1, you are either going to have to sacrifice on personnel or you have to sacrifice on coverage flexibility. One or the other, you're not getting around it. Last thing I'll mention here, and this is really just an honorable mention, 3-4 odd and 3-4 tight allow you to maintain that same 5-man surface as we looked at with the penny front. Obviously, it's not 5-1 because there's 2 linebackers, but I still wanted to include these so you guys know that there are still other ways to maintain a 5-man surface and play match on the back end. Both of these formations have cover 4 quarters, cover 3 match with a weak rotation, and cover 6. They both only have those 3 plays, but again, just wanted to make you guys aware of that. All right, so in review, the positions that we're gonna cover are gonna be interior linebacker. It's gonna be made up of Mike and Will roles, and then we'll talk about sub linebackers. Then we'll move on to interior D-line, which is gonna be nose tackles and then more general purpose defensive tackles. And then we'll have our edges, which is gonna be comprised of run stoppers, pass rushers, and then our hybrid jack players. And then the fronts that those players will live in, we've got the awesome flexibility of the 4-2-5. We have the advantages of spread run defense with the mint and tight fronts, though we are gonna be limited in either coverage or personnel. And then we have our 5-1 or our penny fronts, which give us a more aggressive look. But once again, we have to make some trade-offs either in terms of personnel or coverages. So now you guys know what's ahead of us for the rest of the series. But I didn't want to just make this video to give you a preview or a primer. I want us to start thinking about defense from a bit more holistic of a perspective, in the sense that what we're trying to do with our coverage players is going to determine the front that we can live in. And vice versa, what we're trying to do with our front 6 is going to decide what type of coverages we're going to be able to play. So definitely would love for you guys to, start toying, pondering on that. Also on what archetypes you think we'll be deploying across all of the formations that we'll cover, or how we'll rank them. But don't just think about it. I do want to hear from you guys in the comments. Do you run any of these formations? Do you have a favorite deployment of one of these? Is there one that you feel more comfortable? Do you rotate between all of them like I do? Definitely let me know. Also, let me know what of the positions you're most excited for the remainder of the series. All right, that's all for this one. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff for your boy, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.